Number 1. Ivan the Terrible. Picture this. You've just killed your own son. The blood is still fresh on your hands. For the next 3 years, you'll crawl to his tomb daily, sobbing, begging a corpse for forgiveness. This was Ivan the Terrible's personal hell, and he built it himself. Russia's first Tsar didn't start as a monster. Orphaned at 8, ignored by nobles, young Ivan allegedly threw dogs from Kremlin towers, watching them splatter below. Fast forward to November 16, 1581. Ivan's in a rage. His son dares to question him. One swing of his iron-tipped staff, and Russia's heir is bleeding out. The 27-year-old prince died 11 days later. But this wasn't his worst crime. Ivan created the Oprichniki, his personal death squad in black robes. In 1570, they turned Novgorod into an abattoir for 5 weeks. Between 15,000 to 60,000 people were massacred. They roasted people alive, threw families into the frozen river. Even himself attended, eating meals while watching torture. Here's the twist. He was brilliant, expanded Russia dramatically, built the first printing press, wrote church hymns. This Renaissance man chose brutality as policy, proving intelligence doesn't cure monstrosity, it just makes it more efficient. Number 2, Thomas Jefferson. All men are created equal. Thomas Jefferson wrote those words while owning over 600 human beings. Let that contradiction sink in. Sally Hemings was roughly 14 when it started. Jefferson was 44. He owned her. She was his late wife's half-sister. DNA evidence confirmed in 1998 that Jefferson fathered at least 6 of Sally's children. These kids grew up enslaved in their own father's house, serving him dinner, never acknowledged. Want to know something chilling? Jefferson kept meticulous records. He wrote that enslaved women who gave birth increased his wealth by 4% annually through natural increase. He calculated human reproduction as compound interest. When he died in 1826, drowning in $100,000 of debt, most enslaved people at Monticello were sold at auction to pay creditors. Families torn apart for his debts. He freed exactly 2 people during his lifetime. In his will, 5 more, all Hemings family members, likely his own relatives. His daughter Harriet got $50 and permission to escape to Washington, living as white. The Jefferson paradox is America's original sin, building a nation on universal freedom while making that freedom possible through slavery. Number 3, Christopher Columbus. Columbus didn't discover America. He inaugurated a genocide so efficient that an entire people vanished within 50 years. October 12, 1492. The Taino people greet Columbus with gifts. He writes they're gentle, generous, the best people in the world. Then adds, they would make fine servants. Within 2 years, Columbus creates the encomienda system. Every Taino over 14 must deliver a hawk's bell full of gold every 3 months. Can't find gold? They cut off your hands, tie them around your neck, and send you bleeding back to your village as a warning. Bartolomé de las Casas documented everything. Spaniards testing sword sharpness on native people, throwing babies to war dogs, burning people alive for entertainment. The numbers are genocidal. Hispaniola's Taino population started around 250,000 to 300,000. 50 years later, fewer than 500 remained. Columbus was arrested and returned to Spain in chains in 1500 after complaints reached the crown. But here's the kicker. He kept his wealth, kept his titles, died comfortably in 1506. For centuries, we celebrated Columbus Day. Only recently has truth gained traction, that his discovery was catastrophe for millions. Number 4. King Leopold II of Belgium. Leopold never set foot in the Congo, never once. Yet from his Brussels palace, he orchestrated one of history's most efficient genocides. In 1885, Leopold convinced European powers to give him personal control of Congo Free State, territory 76 times larger than Belgium. He sold it as humanitarian. It was pure horror. Leopold wanted rubber. His force publique soldiers needed proof they weren't wasting bullets, so they had to bring back a severed right hand for every bullet used. This created a perverse economy of human hands. Soldiers cut hands off living people, including children, to cover for bullets used hunting. Photographs from missionaries show Congolese children staring at cameras, their arms ending at wrists. The population declined by approximately 10 million people, half the territory's inhabitants. Gone, murdered, starved, worked to death. By 1908, international pressure forced Leopold to hand over the Congo to Belgium's government. He received 50 million francs as compensation, then systematically burned archives to destroy evidence. Leopold died in 1909, never expressing remorse, never acknowledging 10 million deaths. This wasn't ancient history. People alive today had grandparents who survived this genocide. Number 5. Caligula ruled Rome for less than 4 years. In that time, he became synonymous with madness and absolute power, corrupting absolutely. He started well. When Caligula became emperor at 24, Rome celebrated. For 7 months, everything seemed golden. Then he got sick, maybe encephalitis. When he recovered, something in his brain had broken fundamentally. He declared himself a living god, built a temple with a golden statue of himself, appointed his horse, Incitatus, as a priest and planned to make him consul. Ancient historians recorded escalating cruelty. He forced senators to run miles alongside his chariot, executed people on whims during dinner parties. According to Suetonius, Caligula told executioners, "Strike so that he feels himself dying, maximize suffering, make death agonizing." He reportedly committed incest with his sisters, particularly Drusilla, treating her as his wife. On January 24, 41 AD, Praetorian guards cornered Caligula and stabbed him 30 times. They killed his wife and smashed his infant daughter's head against a wall. Rome was so traumatized the Senate debated abolishing emperorship entirely. 4 years. That's all it took for one man to turn Rome into a nightmare. Ancient sources align too consistently to be fabrication. Number 6, Julius Caesar. Military genius. I came, I saw, I conquered. Shakespeare wrote plays about him. We name July after him. He's history's ultimate leader. He was also responsible for approximately 1 million deaths and enslaving another million people in systematic genocide. From 58 to 50 BC, Caesar waged war in Gaul. His own propaganda, commentaries on the Gallic Wars, casually describes annihilation of entire peoples. In 55 BC, 2 Germanic tribes tried crossing the Rhine seeking refuge, maybe 430,000 people total. Caesar invited their leaders for peace negotiations, then attacked during talks. His legions slaughtered everyone. Caesar brags about it in his own writing. The siege of Alesia in 52 BC shows his true character. When Gallic leader Vercingetorix retreated to this fortified town, Caesar built walls around it. The defenders expelled women, children, and elderly, hoping for mercy. Caesar refused. These 20,000 civilians sat between walls, starving slowly while both sides watched. Caesar's campaigns killed approximately 1 million and enslaved another million. Entire Celtic cultures disappeared. He was assassinated March 15, 44 BC by senators fearing tyranny. His military genius is unquestionable, but those tactics involved genocide and mass enslavement. We name salads after this man. Number 7, Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill saved Western democracy. His speeches during World War II rallied Britain when invasion seemed certain. "We shall fight on the beaches" remains history's most stirring call to resistance. He's also responsible for policies that killed approximately 3 million people in Bengal. The Bengal famine of 1943 happened while Churchill was prime minister. British policies catastrophically worsened the disaster. Churchill's government continued exporting food from India while millions starved. When officials begged for emergency shipments, Churchill refused. His documented quote, "Why hasn't Gandhi died yet? 3 million people dying," and Britain's prime minister expressed disappointment. The independence leader hadn't starved yet. Churchill diverted food from Bengal to build European stockpiles, theoretical future needs while real people died now. His war cabinet secretary recorded Churchill calling Indians a beastly people with a beastly religion who breed like rabbits. Relief efforts were delayed for months. Churchill blamed Indians themselves. This wasn't youthful ignorance. Churchill was 68, making these decisions deliberately. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Churchill was the right leader for Britain in 1940. His determination and refusal to negotiate with Hitler genuinely saved democracy, and he implemented policies causing millions of deaths. Both things are true. History isn't simple. Number 8, Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa became synonymous with selfless charity. Nobel Peace Prize winner, saint. Her name describes people who help others. She's a real Mother Teresa. Investigations reveal disturbing reality. Dr. Robin Fox visited Mother Teresa's Calcutta facilities and published findings in The Lancet. What he found was shocking. Systematic denial of pain relief, even when medications were available and suffering was extreme. Mother Teresa believed suffering brought people closer to Christ. Direct quote, "There is something beautiful in seeing the poor accept their lot." Syringes were rinsed in cold water and reused despite tens of millions in donations. Journalist Christopher Hitchens documented that her homes focused more on conversion than medical care. Patients were baptized without consent if they appeared near death. The facilities lacked proper equipment, trained staff, and systematic treatment. Academic studies found mortality rates exceeded what proper medical care could have prevented. Her organization collected over $100 million, but maintained primitive conditions. She accepted $1.25 million from Charles Keating, later convicted of defrauding thousands. Meanwhile, she sought treatment in advanced Western hospitals for her own heart condition. Her legacy remains contested between those seeing selfless service and critics arguing she romanticized poverty while having resources to alleviate it. Number 9. Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi led India's independence movement. His philosophy of nonviolent resistance inspired civil rights movements worldwide. He advocated religious tolerance and helped end British colonial rule. His assassination on January 30th, 1948, made him a martyr. But Gandhi's views on race during his South Africa years, 1893-1914, revealed disturbing prejudices. He repeatedly used derogatory terms for black Africans and argued Indians shouldn't be classified with natives. He wrote that mixing with Africans would drag Indians down. While he later evolved somewhat, he never fully repudiated these positions. Gandhi's experiments with celibacy involved sleeping naked with young women, including his teenage grandnieces, to test his spiritual purity. He believed resisting temptation while in physical contact proved his vow. He discussed these practices openly. Modern scholars debate whether these arrangements constituted abuse, given the massive power dynamics. Gandhi's treatment of his wife Kasturba revealed paternalistic views. When she contracted pneumonia in 1944, Gandhi refused doctors' recommendations for penicillin. She died. Weeks later, when Gandhi contracted malaria, he accepted quinine treatment. He prevented his sons from receiving formal education beyond primary school while educating himself extensively. His legacy of nonviolence remains powerful, but examining his personal conduct reveals a deeply flawed human whose private actions contradicted public philosophy. Number 10. Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin ruled the Soviet Union from 1924 until 1953. He transformed the USSR from agricultural society into industrial superpower. His leadership during World War II helped defeat Nazi Germany. Behind this modernization lay systematic terror that killed tens of millions. The Holodomor of 1932-1933 killed approximately 3.5 to 5 million Ukrainians through deliberate starvation. Stalin's regime confiscated grain to meet unrealistic quotas. Soviet authorities blocked food shipments and prevented starving peasants from traveling. Armed guards prevented people from gleaning grain. Those caught faced execution. Eyewitness accounts describe families consuming grass, tree bark, leather, eventually resorting to cannibalism. Soviet propaganda denied the famine's existence, while photographers were forbidden from documenting it. Stalin's Great Terror from 1936-1938 added another 700,000 to 1.5 million executions. The Gulag system imprisoned millions more, with 1.5 to 1.7 million dying from brutal conditions. Stalin personally approved execution lists, treating mass murder as administrative procedure. He died March 5, 1953, with total deaths estimated between 6 and 20 million, depending on methodology. His legacy remains deeply controversial. Modernizer or mass murderer? The answer is both. He industrialized the USSR while building it on mountains of corpses. Number 11. Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong founded the People's Republic of China on October 1, 1949. He led the Communist Party through civil war, promising to transform China into a modern socialist state. Under his leadership from 1949 to 1976, an estimated 40 to 80 million Chinese citizens died. The Great Leap Forward, 1958-1962, was Mao's campaign to rapidly industrialize through collectivization. He ordered peasants to abandon farming to produce steel in crude backyard furnaces, resulting in useless metal while crops rotted unharvested. Local officials, terrified of reporting failure, falsified production figures claiming record harvests that didn't exist. The resulting famine killed approximately 36 to 45 million people between 1959 and 1961, history's deadliest famine. People consumed tree bark, grass, and bodies of the dead to survive. While authorities continued confiscations, Mao received reports about the famine, but dismissed concerns, allegedly saying half of China might have to die. The Cultural Revolution, 1966 to 1976, added another 500,000 to 2 million deaths. Teachers, intellectuals, and officials were tortured, beaten to death, or driven to suicide. Red Guards destroyed cultural heritage systematically. Mao died September 9, 1976, never acknowledging responsibility for catastrophes that potentially killed 80 million people. His portrait still hangs in Tiananmen Square today. Number 12, Marie Antoinette. Marie Antoinette was born November 2, 1755 in Vienna as the 15th child of Empress Maria Theresa. At 14, she married future King Louis XVI in a political alliance. She became Queen of France in 1774. Her lavish spending and apparent indifference to French suffering made her a symbol of royal excess during Revolution. Marie Antoinette's expenditures became legendary as France teetered toward bankruptcy. She commissioned the Petit Trianon Palace as her private retreat, spending enormous sums. Her gambling debts were staggering. She could lose the equivalent of $1 million in today's money in single nights. She purchased extravagant jewelry while peasants starved during bread shortages. The famous phrase, "let them eat cake," is likely false, but captured public perception perfectly. Her Austrian origins made her suspect to French patriots. They called her l'Autrichienne, the Austrian woman. Letters reveal she was aware of France's problems, but viewed them as distant, living in a world of fashion and courtly intrigue. Marie Antoinette was arrested during the French Revolution and tried for treason. She was convicted on fabricated charges, including sexually abusing her own son. She was executed by guillotine on October 16, 1793 at age 37. While not solely responsible for France's collapse, she symbolized aristocratic excess perfectly, becoming a cautionary tale about leadership's responsibility. Number 13. Cecil Rhodes. Cecil John Rhodes was born July 5, 1853 in Bishop's Stortford, England. He made his fortune in South African diamond mining, founding De Beers, which controlled 90% of world diamond production. He served as Prime Minister of the Cape Colony from 1890 to 1896. His vision, paint Africa red from Cape to Cairo under British rule. Rhodes established the British South Africa Company, receiving a royal charter to colonize territories that became Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe and Zambia. The company's army conquered the Ndebele and Shona peoples through superior firepower. Rhodes's forces used Maxim machine guns to mow down African warriors armed with spears. Thousands were killed, their land confiscated, survivors forced into reserves covering just 5% of their original territory. Rhodes was an explicit white supremacist who believed Anglo-Saxons were the superior race destined to rule. He implemented the Glenn Gray Act of 1894, restricting African land ownership and imposing taxes forcing Africans into wage labor. His philosophy directly influenced segregation policies that eventually became apartheid. Rhodes died March 26, 1902 at age 48, leaving his fortune, approximately $150 million in today's money, to establish Rhodes scholarships. These initially excluded women and non-whites. The territories named after him remained under white minority rule until 1980. His legacy remains deeply controversial as a symbol of colonialism and racism. Number 14. Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud was born May 6, 1856 in Freiburg, Moravia, and founded psychoanalysis. He revolutionized understanding of the human mind through concepts like the unconscious, dream interpretation, and defense mechanisms. His influence extended far beyond psychology into literature, art, and cultural understanding of human behavior. Freud's theory of infant sexuality claimed children experience sexual desires from birth through oral, anal, and phallic phases. He argued boys develop sexual attraction to mothers in the Oedipus complex. These theories shocked Victorian society and remain controversial. His insistence that virtually all psychological problems stemmed from repressed sexual desires has been largely rejected by modern psychology. Freud's treatment methods included practices now considered unethical. He prescribed cocaine as treatment for depression and anxiety, becoming addicted himself and continuing use despite mounting evidence of dangers. His famous patient, Anna O., actually worsened under treatment. She never recovered. Freud later admitted he had fabricated or embellished many case studies to support his theories. Freud's views on women reflected misogynistic attitudes characterizing them as inherently inferior psychologically. He claimed women had weaker superegos, were more narcissistic, and had less sense of justice than men. His concept of penis envy suggested women's entire psychological development stemmed from perceived anatomical inadequacy. Freud died in London on September 23, 1939, leaving a complex legacy that revolutionized psychology while promoting theories now considered scientifically unfounded. Number 15. Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan united the Mongol tribes and built history's largest contiguous land empire. Stretching from Korea to Hungary, his empire covered 12 million square miles, roughly the size of Africa. He's celebrated as a brilliant military strategist and empire builder. He's also responsible for the deaths of approximately 40 million people, roughly 11% of the world's population at that time. Khan's military tactics were calculated terror. When cities refused to surrender, he would massacre entire populations as warnings to others. In the city of Nishapur in 1221, after his son-in-law was killed during the siege, Khan ordered every living thing killed: people, cats, dogs, even rats. Historical accounts claim 1.7 million people died there. Skulls were arranged in pyramids as monuments to Mongol power. The city of Merv, once among the world's largest, was completely destroyed in 1221. Estimates suggest 700,000 to 1.3 million people were slaughtered over 4 days. The Mongols would sometimes spare artisans and engineers, but typical conquest meant systematic execution of fighting-age males and enslavement of women and children. Genetic studies from 2003 revealed that approximately 16 million men alive today, about 0.5% of the male population, carry a Y chromosome lineage traced back to Khan. This genetic legacy stems from the systematic rape and concubinage that accompanied Mongol conquests. Khan himself had hundreds of wives and concubines.